Hey, 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 good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. I am Manila Chan. That is Ted Rawl. You are tuned in to the Ted Manila Information Show, otherwise known as the TMI Show for short, where we bring you way too much information. And as we usually tell you guys, we talk about everything from like lifestyle and politics to actually what the kids are up to. And that's kind of going to be the main thing today.
True,
what the kids and some adults are up to. So
many adults.
I guess many adults. So I think even more so now than any other era since video games became a thing. But we're going to talk about, if this is it kind of an age-old argument at this point, Ted, if video games are good for you?
100%. Yeah. Well, actually, it hasn't really been an argument until recently. It was kind of understood that it was a vice up until recently. Just that video gaming was a big waste of time. That it was, basically stupid and for like stoners and morons.
Ruins your brain.
Yeah, fries your brain, and now there's now it's an argument. Now there are.
Right.
It's like coffee now. Like coffee is now like you can never know whether it's good for you or bad for you. It's no one ever says
or
like
butter.
It's meh or butter. Yeah, I'm on team coffee. I'm on team butter. I think they're good for you. Is
butter in your coffee.
Michael Pollan, who said, that is a thing in some places.
It is a thing,
and it's good too. Also, nothing like a rich slab of creamery butter on top of a steak, the way the French do it. So good, so good.
I do that.
By the way, I just want to compliment you, Manila, on your sartorial presence today. I like that. I like that jacket. It looks good.
Oh, thank you. I love.
I look schmutzy today, so someone's got to look good.
Buffalo check. Every winter, this is my thing. It's called buffalo checkers. This is the print.
Really?
You didn't know that?
No, I just thought that was plaid.
Checker? No, plaid is very different, and I only know this because I happen to have somehow fallen into being a men's style magazine editor. So I learned very quickly when I had to do reporting for that stuff what plaid actually is, and plaid actually has like the small like
they have the little sub
lines,
squares.
multiple.
Yeah,
the squares with little lines across them. So you look at like the kilts, like Scottish kilts. That is.
By the way,
plaid.
There is a fascinating book called The Mummies of Urumqi, but Urumqi is spelled Urumqi. You will know. Okay. That's in Western China, right? That's the administrative capital of Xinjiang. It's so anyway, in far north, the far west of China, in Urumqi, I guess it was like 30 years ago, archaeologists unearthed a tomb and they found it was wrapped in like plaid clothing, very much like startlingly close to like the way Scottish clothes look like. And they started this investigation and they found that pattern basically moved across the Eurasian continent all the way to Scotland over the course of several thousand years. And they were able to sort of then attach it to like the development of language, like very simple words. You can look at like very simple words like mother, like ma, or dog, or things like the cat. Simple words.
Yes.
Kidding. Those words like are also associated with that movement. That's how we know that people at that time were moving from east to west, because basically they moved from Africa to east, and then they sort of got bogged down over there, and then they got bored. No, they liked it actually, and then they stuck around, and then like some of them bounced back. I guess there must have been some sort of disruptive. There must have been some kind of like famine or food supply issue, or
but then you spend your whole life moving back and forth.
Literally, no, this is not in one generation. This is in hundreds of generations.
It's like telling your grandchildren one day you will move back east, and east meaning like China, like
right to the real east.
Right,
although
far east.
It's only east relative to Europe, right? That's why they called it the East. But
yeah, there's a big woodwind instrument in Laos called the can, and Laos, as you know, is like, well, not as you know, because most people don't know anything about Laos or even where it is on the map, even less than they know where Ukraine is. Laos is a pre-Christ.
Oh, it's a very old civilization.
We're talking 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 year old civilization, like
more than
pre Yeah, as
Yeah.
we can determine for sure scientifically.
It's pretty much as old as the Khmer or civilization in Cambodia.
We have this big tall woodwind instrument. It's played vertically, and it's like a bunch of mini pipes and presumably made of bamboo back then. I don't know what they make it of now. And my grandfather used to play it. It's kind of a lost art, but when you hear it audibly, it sounds like a Scottish bagpipe.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's like, it sounds so much.
So it has harmonic resonance built into it. Oh, that's so cool.
It's almost indistinguishable except for when the person playing it takes a breath. That's how you can tell the difference, because obviously the bagpipe has a bag that stores the air that you can.
But wait, so they don't. So the person who plays it, they don't do like. So there's that Tibetan, that giant. I forget what that thing is called. That giant, like
Oh, I don't know what that's called.
You know what I'm talking about, right? That thing.
I know what you're talking about.
It's like 15 feet long. And, no, I mean it really is. It's like it'd make Trump feel
like the Aboriginals have something similar too. A big long. What's it called?
So the person who plays it is supposed to use reticulated breathing. I learned about this in college. So basically,
no idea.
With reticulated breathing, you never stop to take a breath, because you can breathe in through your nose at the same time that you're breathing out through your mouth. You're like, so it's like a circle, right? So you never stop. So it's just like,
I don't know how they play it. Is that how that's done?
Yeah. I learned how to do it, actually. I can't play that thing.
Didgeridoo.
I can do reticulated breathing.
Didgeridoo.
That's what it is. That what it is?
That's what the Aboriginals play.
In Australia. Yeah.
Yes, but it's I think a similar big giant.
Yeah.
Musical.
And the Tibetans have that thing, and you can hear it like miles away. It's a beast.
Yes, and so the bagpipes and the can. So to your point about migration westward. I feel like there has to be something there based on the actual harmonic sound of it, like the audibility of it. It's close to being indistinguishable to an untrained ear.
Yeah, because harmonic resonance is a super interesting and highly sophisticated thing to think of, right? It's not like just every random person would think it up. It's like the sitar, the principle of the sitar. It has harmonic resonance strings, right? You don't play them all. You play the certain strings, and then the other ones are synced up, and then they go which is so cool.
Love the sound of that. Anyway, see how random this show is? You will learn weird stuff like that. And also, I'm going to keep warning the listeners. I know some listeners are tired of us warning them that this is not a straight lace show, but I know there's going to be some people. We're still getting comments about people being like, aghast that.
Yeah, we just heard one. Such a comment.
we this is who we are. And Ted, if viewers or listeners are used to seeing us on FCC controlled platforms, they're not used to hearing us talking like real human beings, right? Like this is actually who we are, and we do actually curse. So we will warn you that, if you're looking for that straight lace show, this is not going to be it. So
true. Although all those guys like Wolf Blitzer, they all curse. Like
let me tell you,
no one curses like Washington politicians. I mean,
Louise,
every third word, right? I mean, it's kind of astonishing.
And they reek of cigarettes and alcohol. Let me tell you, being on on Capitol Hill,
I'm sure. I would be worried as a lady about having my ass grabbed all the time.
Ted, when I was young and single, and things that can be excused as accidental brush-ups.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that doesn't happen so often to men. It has happened to me. But not very often.
Just a lot of
And what's funny is, you as a guy, we always joke about like how nice it would be to be sexually molested. But
I don't know that you guys would know.
For the most part, it hasn't really been that much fun, really.
Yeah, it's not that fun. But I guess that's something that women have been exposed to since the dawn of time. But again, I digress. But that is the point of this show and why we're not on
digressions
FCC-controlled
are part
air.
of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, by the way, this is to the Rumble people. You guys are falling down on the job. The YouTube is way ahead of you. YouTube is at 481. No, on subscriptions. Rumble's at 243. And
but it's a 10-to-1 market though.
That's true.
I mean,
I
an
was trying
audience
to. I was
share.
trying to
So.
completely ignore the facts
Yeah, but
and
the
and
rumblers know that,
decontextualize the
Ted.
whole thing. I know. I
They're
was
not.
hoping that I
They're
was just hoping
extremely
they
smart.
forgot after a long week of work that they would
That's
work a
right.
week. I
It is
figured they would
Friday.
just be like, like okay,
Yeah.
well, I
Oh, we
feel
gotta.
guilty
Yes.
because of Ted.
The rumblers
Okay, that
are
was lame.
very, very critical. The
Oh,
rumblers
I
are very
know.
critical. I'm not to shade on the YouTubers, but we're new to the YouTube world. The
YouTubers
rumblers
are
are
nice
more
though. I like that.
familiar
Nice is
with
good.
us. They're nicer.
They are nicer. Oh my God. The first time when I was on with you the first time for our first show, and it was like, and then there was like, there's
On
this
radio
thing
or on here?
on Rumble. Yeah, well, like on radio. And then you were like, and then I checked out the Rumble. And man, I was like, just not being insulted is like a major, like you've won the crowd if they're not like just like saying the worst things about you.
God bless the rumblers, good and bad. I'm just gonna say, I'm the YouTube audience. They apparently, maybe it's just there's modifiers or monitors in there, Ted, that are modifying mean comments.
I don't know because it's weird. In the live chat, the YouTubers are nice, but in the comments section, YouTubers be mean. So it's a different culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
live streaming people, they have a community there, right? So
yeah.
But like people who just comment, just like they parachute in, they drop their bomb and they're gone, right?
Drop a dump and leave. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the same thing.
Drop a flaming dump and they're out of here. But again, not a straight laced show, guys. So please tune in Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. We have a guest to get to, and we want to keep the show succinct and respective of his time. So we're going to blast through the headlines.
All right, let's do
it. And get right to it. So let's hop into the headlines.
Let's do it. Okay, so Donald Trump wants to slap some tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico as soon as tomorrow. And that could drive up the price of everything from gas and pickup trucks to Super Bowl party guacamole dip. Well, that last thing's not going to worry me because I don't watch the Super Bowl. But will my guacamole dip change prices just because I don't watch the Super Bowl?
Guac all year long, Ted. So.
Oh, yeah. No, guac is not seasonal, although it's not as good when it's out of season. Anyway, Trump's tariffs threatened to blow up the trade agreement that he himself negotiated with America's neighbors during his first term. His U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement, which was supposed to replace NAFTA, was supposed to bring predictability to the trade between these three countries. Here's just some of the few of the goods that could be impacted. For decades, auto companies have built up supply chains that cross the borders of the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. More than 1 out of 5 cars and light trucks sold in the U.S. actually were born in Canada or Mexico, according to S&P. In 2023, the U.S. imported $69 billion worth of cars and light trucks from Mexico, more than any other country, and $37 billion from Canada. I got to say, personally, as an economic nationalist, I'm against this. I think anything that we can make here in the U.S., we should make here in the U.S. Another $78 billion in auto parts come from Mexico, $20 billion from Canada, and so on and so on. The TD Economics believes that the average price of a new car could go up by about $3,000. And this is at a time when the average new car is already $50,000. The average used car is $26,000. I guess when I get a new car, it's going to be an old car. Canada is by far America's biggest foreign supplier of crude oil, by the way. From January through November of last year,
isn't that wild?
The Canucks shipped us $90 billion worth of crude, and the Mexicans sent us $11 billion. And for many refineries, there's not a lot of choice. Canada has, there's different types of crude oil. I don't know if a lot of Americans know that, but there's different varieties. And anyway, Canadians produce the kind that American refineries, you see them on the side of the highway burning stuff up, that's the kind that we process. It's heavier. All the fracking and the oil and the gas that we make here in the U.S., like in places like Pennsylvania, is lighter crude that our refineries don't know how to process, particularly out in the Midwest. Trump said that he hasn't decided yet whether or not to impose tariffs on Canadian or Mexican oil. I doubt that he would. If so, though, TD thinks that gas prices will go up 30 cents to 70 cents a gallon. In 2023, The U.S. bought more than $45 billion in agricultural products from Mexico, including 63% of imported imported vegetables and 47% of fruits and nuts. Farm imports came to $40 billion. Of course, that there too, a tariff could push up prices. 90% of avocados come from Mexico. A steep price hike might be seen right in time for the Super Bowl. Is guacamole dip a Super Bowl thing? I mean, I don't know. I don't watch football, but I mean, what?
Yes, at least like definitely in the southern states in California and whatnot, absolutely. And for California in particular, California, like there's so much food revolving around guac, or not guac, but avocado in general. Like think of all the hipsters and their avocado toast. Ted, what are they going to do without avocado toast?
I feel like we've passed peak avocado toast, don't you think? There was a period when it was everywhere, but now it's like,
well, that was
not as much.
But guac is such a big thing especially in the Southwest, like California, Arizona, Texas. So
I just didn't know it was a Super Bowl tradition. I thought you just ate like random crappy food.
You do, but because the Mexicans have such great food, it has infused its way all across all the 50 glorious states, Ted.
Okay.
I mean,
fair enough. No one's smart. All right, here we go. German opposition leader Friedrich Merz sounds accused of breaching a firewall in his country's politics by agreeing to cooperate with the Alternative for Deutschland, or AfD, the far-right party, in order to narrowly pass a motion that limits migration. Chancellor Olaf Scholz condemned the move as an unforgivable mistake. Robert Habeck, deputy chancellor and leader of the Greens, implored, Mr. Merz, don't vote with racists. It's not necessary and it is ill-advised. Merz's 5-point plan would turn back migrants at the border. That's against the UN Convention on Refugees. It comes amid public outrage after a stabbing attack by an Afghan asylum applicant and a deadly SUV attack by a Saudi doctor at a Christmas market. On Friday, Merz was set to introduce a draft migration bill based on the plan, which could become law after Germany's next election. That's coming up later next month, February 23rd. After the anti-migration proposal vote, he said that he regretted relying on the AfD and offered to talk to the ruling Social Democrats and the Greens before he presents his bill. Merz's CDU requested a pause on the vote while the talks take place. Why the cave-in? Polls show 66% of Germans support the plan, but opposition parties, including the Christian Democratic Union, have slipped in popularity while the AfD is going up. So we'll see what happens there.
Why do I feel like producer Robbie has some thoughts on this particular topic? Even though it's not American-U.S. borders, I feel like producer Robbie...
I would like to say that this does go contrary to the whole purpose of the EU, which you can argue what the purpose of whether the EU is a good idea. But the EU is supposed to get rid of all border controls so that you could drive anywhere in Europe or fly anywhere in Europe without any passport controls. It would be as seamless as driving between Ohio and Indiana. Well, I mean, it's all debatable, right? I mean, so I was against the EU. I was against it. I was against the giving up national sovereignty for my homeland of France.
Same. And I have like you. I mean, they're not white, but they are multiple generational French citizens. The part of the Lao and Chinese diaspora there, and they're native French speakers, and they were there for when the EU became a thing. And I was used to hearing them talk about money in terms of francs and stuff like, and in Germany the Deutschmark, and
I miss that stuff.
Gone. It's like, wait, why are you guys all turning into one giant blob? You guys have different cultures.
And the French franc was a beautiful thing. I mean, the coins had Marianne, the lady, the French lady, who was the symbol of France. But all the bills, they had Mozart and Moliere and artists and musicians on them, as opposed to the assholes we have on our slave owning motherfuckers.
I'm gonna let producer Robbie pop on stage and give us his thoughts also on on this whole. Okay, so Robbie, I think you also heard in the U.S. that Elon Musk weighed in, and they're pissed in Germany that Elon Musk is like doing election interference in Germany, and that he proposed the idea, and this might be crazy because he did do the whole Nazi salute at the post inauguration party.
Yeah,
he didn't. He did not.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I mean, what do you?
I watched the whole thing
I watched
live
it so
on
many
C-SPAN.
times. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I don't know. It's like
I think it's just him being socially awkward, to be honest with you.
So
right. He is on the spectrum.
From my heart to yours thing.
Yes.
Okay, I understand the defense. I'm not. On the other hand,
it was just. And he has weird expressions. He's on the spectrum, so I give him a pass. But here's the thing.
However, when you're South African, which is basically like Nazi,
when you're white South African,
when you're an Afrikaner, which is kind of like you're born Nazi, like you kind of like you start at a deficit, you have to dig out of the hole.
It's almost like a Zionist. Let's be honest.
Well,
it's the same thing.
There's a reason that Israel and apartheid era South Africa was the the biggest, tightest ally of Israel.
Here's the thing that's getting Elon Musk in more trouble. And by the way, Frederick Mertz's tie is all crooked. If you look up here at his shirt, and that's really
well. I only see
put that back on.
I see Robbie in the middle, so I don't see that.
I'm going to put that.
All right, here we go.
See that?
Yeah.
His really
wait. I'm more concerned about this tuft of hair that he has, like a horn.
It's really bothering me.
Yeah, that hair, so if you have that configuration of hair, I get it.
The island of hair?
It can happen anywhere. The Greenland of hair. He's got to be careful. Trump might try to invade it. He should shave it, right? That little island, it's not helping. It's making things worse. You're already in a bad situation. In chess, sometimes you have to sacrifice a piece to get ahead in the long run.
Yeah.
It is. What do you think, Robbie? You're a dude. What would you do if you were him? Shave that island? Yay or nay?
Well, I think I would just, I would just whack it all off. I don't see the point. It looks like a landing strip. I don't understand why. I don't.
It's basically he's got.
This is such a
he's got
Friday
lady parts on his head.
Oh my God, the landing strip. Oh my God, Ted.
That's what it looks like.
Well, maybe it's like there was a glue situation, between him and his wife,
Because you guys, I'm going to take him off screen. So Elon Musk, what he said that has gotten Frederick Mertz in trouble is Elon said, he told the Germans, it's okay to be proud of being German.
No,
that's
true. Germany has more than a 12-year history. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, dating back to the time.
There's a lot to be proud of. Germany has a very rich.
But people are taking that as a white nationalist Nazi dog whistle.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you a secret as something. Let me tell you something as a secret. As a white Southern man, there is nothing wrong with being proud of who you are, where you come from.
True.
I agree.
That's a fact.
Anything wrong with it.
And if someone has a problem with that, please, by all means, let me know in the comment section. I will laugh at you, and I will find a Confederate flag emoji, and I will stick it right up under your comment, and I'll say, I'll start singing Dixie to you. I will 100% do it. And the whole problem with the European Union, Europe is a very small place. I've never been there. I haven't traveled as much as y'all have.
Not as small as you think.
But I understand. But I understand history. You have different countries, different ethnicities, histories, languages. Culture is a thing. The elitists try to pretend like culture no longer matters. That's a bunch of crap. Even here in this country, as big as it is, we just
don't want to pay tariffs, and they want to be able to hire. They want to be able to produce their goods in wherever the working conditions are shitty and where wages are low, and they want to sell them wherever wages are high. And people will pay more. That's all. They're just greedy bastards. 100%. I don't even blame them. Right. That's who they are. I mean, it's like you can't blame them any more than you blame a wolf for getting hungry for a sheep. But you got to build a fence to keep that wolf away from your sheep.
Well, that's just the thing, right? And at the end of the day, we are all human beings. We're all the same. Racism is stupid. That being said, culture is a thing. Language is a thing. Like we see it here. guacamole on the Super Bowl.
Super Bowl.
What kind of moron would ever do that? That's stupid. No, use cheese grits. That is your Super Bowl food. You have cheese grits and you have chicken legs, and that's what you do. You don't have guacamole. What? I don't know what the hell a guacamole is. Is it that green stuff?
Yeah, it's that green stuff that you get at the Mexican restaurant.
Okay, so I know what it is.
It's the fancy. It's the fancy dip. Not the one that you get for free.
So it's the green one, not the yellow one.
It's the green one, not the red
cheese.
one.
Yeah, not the cheese.
See, this is the high level content that y'all come to expect from the TMI show.
Hey, there are times when I would have, I would not have known that, and not that long ago.
No,
right, we got to blast through the headlines here.
Yeah, let me say this real quick, and I'll shut up. But as far as Elon,
Producer Robbie's going to have to go grab our guest back because I think he had a connection failure.
Yeah, okay, all right, go do that. Take your time though. All right,
but yeah, I figured he would.
Don't be in a rush here.
On board with keeping the borders secure for even
for the crowds.
Damn Europeans.
All right.
Even for the crowd.
America's kids have continued to lose ground on reading skills in the wake of COVID. We did this one already. The findings are yet
no.
You weren't here. You were out. We did. Robbie and I did this story.
This one just came out though.
All right. The findings are yet another setback for U.S. schools and reflect the myriad challenges that have upended education, from pandemic school closures to a youth mental health crisis and high rates of chronic absenteeism. The national exam results showed growing inequality. The highest performing students have started to regain lost ground. Lower performing students are falling further behind. The average math score for 8th graders is unchanged from 2022. Reading scores are down 2 points at both grade levels. A third of 8th graders scored below basic in reading. That's more than ever in the history of the assessment. Especially terrifying to officials is the divide between higher and lower performing students, which has gotten wider than any time before. Students with the highest scores outperformed their peers from 2 years ago. But we always see that. Okay, it was most pronounced in 8th grade math, while the top 10% of students saw their scores go up by 3. The lowest 10% went down by 6 points. Compared with 2019, and that is a short period of time. 8th grade reading scores are now down 8 points. Reading scores are down 5, and in 4th grade math scores are down 3. So our kids are being shortchanged, no question about it.
Yeah, this is. I'm not going to put it squarely on the pandemic. I think it's just.
Well, it didn't help
as a whole. No, but it's underscores just like how COVID separated us even further of the haves and have-nots. The ultra rich became ultra mega rich, and the poors became the poorest of the poor of the poor. So it's now this cavernous divide, not only between wealth, but you can also kind of apply that wealth disparity to the education gap.
There's a lot of overlap too, right? I mean, it's not the rich kids who are falling behind, right?
No, of course not. And
because their parents can pay for tutors and all that stuff. It's not that rich kids don't have problems, but yeah.
No, of course not. But there's, as far as the education gap goes, it goes hand in hand with the financial gap. And that also goes hand in hand with one of my favorite topics, the real estate gap, because as you know, where you live, your property taxes help pay for schools, and the cycle continues. So there you have it. So I don't know how we fix that. There's no easy fix. The U.S. education
system, maybe if we stop money,
yes, but I still
spend more money to hire pay teachers more. Support them better, build better schools, more schools, smaller class sizes.
Does that say Manila back there?
More money.
Agree. And I'm going to say these test scores, Ted, and you are going to hate me for it, but I'm going to say this is part to Vivek Ramaswamy's point. And Ted, look at this background of this. I swear that says Manila on the blackboard.
It says March. It says March. March
Manila.
2nd, 1940 something.
I would lose my shit right now if that said Manila. Like, holy cow! I just found some random video.
This would be like when the credits run in The Shining, and then the camera, and it's like Jack Nicholson sees that. Will you see that Jack Nicholson has always been the caretaker? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh my god! Yes.
Yeah, with the black and white photos.
I would just lose my shit if that somehow said Manila and I accidentally stumbled across some video that said Manila from 1941. Be like, Oh my God. Oh my
So
God.
I'm kind of geeking out because there is a huge falcon in my backyard right here in Manhattan. And he's like lurking on the tree outside my apartment. He's huge.
Doth
Anyway,
the raven.
he's not a raven. He's a falcon.
Nevermore, Ted.
Yeah, nevermore.
What does the falcon say? I don't know what the I know what the raven says.
Say?
What does the falcon say? I don't know.
No, he said whatever the fuck he wants.
Falcon.
Yeah.
He's gonna try to get Clovis.
He's a friend of Clovis thought that he could attack the falcon. He was like going crazy at the window. I'm like,
Falcon,
dude, this is a role reversal situation. This is the second visit of the falcon. He's been here before, like a week and a half ago. Jeez. So, yeah. Anyway, all right, we have one more story here. We're shy of story, but whatever. Meta settled a 2021 lawsuit brought by Trump, alleging the company's suspension of his social media accounts after the J6 attack amounted to an act of censorship. Meta on Wednesdays agreed to pay $25 million to resolve the legal dispute. The bulk of the settlement, this made me giggle, $22 million, will help fund Trump's presidential library.
That's really what it is, Ted. It's a
While the rest will pay
Trump.
legal fees and be divided among other plaintiffs in the case, according to Meta spokesman Andy Stone. The settlement is a major concession by Meta, which for years maintained its right to determine which posts and accounts should be allowed to remain on its networks. Meta and other tech companies have fought fiercely against laws seeking to regulate content moderation practices, arguing that any proposals violate their First Amendment rights by stripping private companies of the right to choose what to publish on their platforms. But Mark Zuckerberg told investors that Trump's election gave the company an opportunity to rewrite its historically fraught relationship with the American government. Or maybe Trump's election prompted Zuckerberg to think, I've got to suck this man's cock and give him $25 million. And this is it's like a bribe, right? I mean, basically.
It's totally a bribe. I mean,
it's
come
a bribe.
on. I'm going to settle out of court, brother. It's fine. Let's do this, Donald. We're good. I'm going to donate. It's basically a $22 million donation to your library.
Right.
Let's keep this out of court. We're good.
What will be in the Trump presidential library? I wonder. You know how Bill Clinton's presidential library in Little Rock, Arkansas is in the shape of a double wide. It really is, actually. It's a giant, beautiful double wide. It's like a trailer. No, you can look it up, people. I think it was unintentional, but it's hilarious. It's also Bill Clinton's presidential library in Little Rock. You can sit down at the president's desk. There's a whole redo of the Oval Office, and you can bring your own intern and everything. And
my goodness! Oh my goodness!
It's like that. Well, yeah, they clean the carpet every day. It's beautiful.
Oh Lord. Yeah, I don't know what's going to be in Trump's presidential library, but I feel like Mark Zuckerberg is going to have some sway over what goes in there. And
maybe Mark Zuckerberg will be in Trump's library.
It's going to be tech heavy. That's all I can guess.
That's true.
With all the tech people donating $1 gajillion to Trump's inauguration PAC, I feel like his presidential library is going to be all touch screens and a lot of tech stuff. It's going to be the most techie presidential library ever. But this is definitely a bribe. And by the way, we're not short one story. I'm going to present headline 5.
Let's hear it. Okay, go rock and roll.
Because this is, we can't miss this one. Okay.
All right. I just didn't see it in the script, so I was just wondering.
No, because this is just off the cuff.
You're just dropping it on me. All right.
Someone's dropping.
I can't speak extemporaneously, so anything could happen.
So someone's dropping something. So Ted, we're talking a lot about the UK and Europe and the strange laws. So we know the UK is locking people up. We're talking about Meta, all this, the mean tweets and whatever happening in the UK, right? You can get locked up, right? For racist screeds, even though it's not really racist or whatever, but you can get in trouble in the UK for mean tweets.
Yes.
So this is
there's no First Amendment. There's no First Amendment there.
No. So this lady right here that we're looking at, this is the first ever cyber farting case.
What?
I'm not kidding. Yeah.
Well,
okay. So
you're gonna have to explain.
I'm gonna let the video explain.
Right,
cyber farting case, UK. She's gonna go to prison.
A woman from Wales is facing jail after bombarding her boyfriend's ex with videos of herself farting. Rhiannon Evans, 25, has appeared in court today to plead guilty to harassment in Britain's first ever cyber farting case. She is accused of causing distress or anxiety to her boyfriend's ex after sending videos of herself passing wind. The prosecution told the magistrates that in the first video she sent, she proceeds to pass gas by placing the camera on her bottom and passing the gas. Over the next few days, another 4 videos were sent of the same nature, showing Rhiannon passing wind and then showing her face smiling at the camera. Her tweeting continued on Boxing Day and New Year's Day, despite
Not on
police
Boxing
getting wind
Day.
of what had
Boxing
happened.
Day?
Rhiannon was arrested at her home in Carnarvon and will be sentenced this week.
There's Carnarvons. Carvoniers. They're a bunch of like farty people.
We had to put this on.
She's going to jail?
Okay. I think so.
I mean, she's an asshole. Oh, look, she is an asshole, and that is cyber stalking, and it is wrong, and I think it should be punished by law. But jail is a little harsh. I mean, it seems like a fine would probably be enough, or community service.
They are jailing people in the UK for mean tweets and mean social media posts.
Well, that's not a social media post. This is like she
contacted
the person directly.
She's texting her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend to send her fart videos.
Right, exactly.
Why didn't the ex-girlfriend block
these
her?
are unwanted. Yeah, but
but you can just block. I mean, I don't know about Android phones, but on iPhones you can block a number. So
yeah, I'm sure you can on Android as well.
So I'm sure you can block as well. So why didn't she just block?
Well, that's a good question. Well, I mean, sometimes it doesn't always work. Where the person does a workaround.
Look, to me, this is just another crazy overreach. I feel like there's other means to rectify this. There's a joke there as well.
Rectify
this. I feel
maybe what was her defense? Maybe she could have said, like, I'm sorry, I thought I was sending this to my proctologist.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
I was uploading it to the National Health Service. I didn't know.
This is just too much out of the UK when you're jailing people for mean tweets and mean think or wrong think, and now you're going to jail people for farts. So I feel like
they're not jailing her for farting. I mean, they would have probably jailed her if she just said like "fuck you, fuck you, fuck you," but like or whatever. It was like these are harassing personal messages, which here in the US are illegal as well.
I feel like there are other ways to correct this behavior, like you said, a fine, a ticket or something, community service, take away her privileges of buying beans. She can't have,
no shitting for a week.
Like, no, that would be worse. She'd have to stop eating beans for breakfast, right? Because that's a UK thing.
That is a UK thing. Yeah.
So
they have a farty diet over there.
Do they? Is it very fibrous?
At least the traditional English food. I know it's evolved and modernized in many ways, but
I think it is precedent setting, and I thought
she doesn't look like the fartiest person. If I saw her, I wouldn't think like there goes a farty lady.
A woman that could fart on command for video.
Yeah, I used to be able to fart on command, but I can't do that now.
Wow. Well, there you go. There's our funny Friday topic.
My son can burp on command like crazy.
I used to be able to do that as a kid.
Yeah, it's a kid thing.
I can't do it anymore. I think it's something with sphincter control in your. There's the different sphincter. No, there's not sphincter like this woman's sphincter.
Yeah, that's her sphincter.
There's actual an esophageal sphincter in here.
Oh, is there?
So. Yeah, it's a real thing. It's an esophageal sphincter, and that if you have a problem with your esophageal sphincter, this is how you have acid reflux. People with a lot of acid reflux problems come up. It's because your esophageal sphincter.
Oh, that makes sense. I see.
Yeah, it can't close.
It's not keeping. It's not keeping everything down. I got you.
Correct. That's it. Exactly. I know somebody with that problem. That's how I became aware. But hello, basic anatomy, Ted.
Clovis came to say hi. So.
Hi, Clovis. Okay, with that, I'm going to stop our headlines and get to our main fun topic. But what's more fun than farts on a Friday?
Indeed. Nothing. I mean, I think she was guilty and deserved some sort of punishment.
She deserves her day in court. And
maybe she should have been forced, like in China, they would have made her. They would have done something appropriate, like forced her to fart in the public square or something, as thousands of people watch. You are such big fodder. You fought here.
You fought so much. You fought in front of everybody, live TV. Shame on you.
You think you big fodder?
Yeah, but then they would just create a competition out of that, or maybe like the South Koreans would create a show out of that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the North Koreans would have synchronized farting with like the flags.
It would become a thing. All right. I'm going to hit the jaws, and then we're going to talk. And I think producer Robbie can chime in on this too, since he's more of the gaming expert. Ted, you and I are peripheral gamers. I stopped my gaming life, in I would say the early 90s once it got into like 16-bit. So I'm not an expert in this field. I liked Galaga. That's showing our age, right?
Yeah,
but
we're
I
loved Galaga. Yeah,
I loved Galaga. I could sit at the and yes, you're sitting at that table playing Galaga, right, with my orange bang.
Or there's the arcade version, the standing version.
Well, our arcade had the sitting version, so you could sit there on
the sitting version. Oh, it's so great with the drink right like next to it.
Yeah,
like,
I'd have like my whipped orange drink. That was my thing at the arcade, and like set it down and just. I was into B-52s,
not the band, the drink. I did like the band, but yeah.
All right, with that, let's get to it.
Jaws. Video games have long been considered a waste of time and even a pernicious influence by many educators and political leaders in the establishment. In 2019, gaming disorder was even listed in the 11th revision of the International Classification of Diseases. Gaming disorder is, quote, characterized by impaired control over gaming, increased priority given to gaming over other activities, to the extent that gaming takes precedence over other interests and daily activities, end quote. But not everyone was buying it. During the pandemic, new studies found that owning a game console and increased gameplay reduced psychological distress and improved life satisfaction among participants. The study found that spending just 1 extra hour every day playing video games is associated with an increase, not a decrease, in mental health and life satisfaction. So today we're going to reach out to gaming developer VK Samhith to ask him whether gaming ought to become part of psychological self-care.
Hi, VK. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. So yeah, like sports, like anything that you do physically, right? Video games as well have both cognitive, mental, and physical, benefits. But to keep it to not turn it into an addiction, you'll probably have to, you just like any other activity and entertainment, it has to be in moderation. So when in moderation, we see studies have shown, and me personally, playing games, I've seen the benefits, the upsides of it, the downsides of it, and there are more upsides of it when you're doing this in moderation, taking care. Let's say, for example, I used to there was this game called God of War Ragnarok that launched in 2023, a very recent game, and it was a long game. So I would play it with my joystick, and the game was a very long-winded game, so it's a bit long. So it would cause issues with my thumb. I would get thumb injuries if I played it for way too long. So anything in moderation would help you a lot.
Wait, tongue injuries? How did that?
No,
just
thumb.
like
No,
thumb. Oh,
thumb injuries. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. So
It's a different kind of game.
anything in moderation.
Right.
Yeah, anything in moderation would help. Ideally, it improves cognitive functionality. Let's say if you're playing a lot of FPS games, first-person shooters, or shooters in general, these games kind of force you to scan the world very quickly, force you to make quick decisions. So it kind of, with research has proved that improves your ability to scan areas, improves your ability to find paths if you're looking just at an image. So there's a lot of cognitive benefits when you're playing a video game. So shooters primarily, because they are so fast paced, you have to play these and make split second decisions. They kind of put you in that zone where you are trained to make decisions, find objects very quickly. Let's say you have to find an enemy very quickly, right? Like if not a split second decision and then you're shot. So it kind of forces you to scan an image and multiple of those images, considering that the games are running at a very high FPS. So these kinds of high and high graphic fidelity games that are very high in terms of immersion kind of fool your brain that you are in that situation, and that primitive reflex of fight or flight.
Well, those are
everything comes into
stressor
play.
games, right? I feel like those, like, especially a first shooter game. Well, I don't know. I think for some adults that play that games like that, it's a means for them to blow off steam and relax, even though you hear them shouting angrily, in their man cave. And usually it's a man. I don't want to disparage female gamers, but usually it's a man angrily yelling at the screen. But it's a way for some of those guys to blow off steam from their day at work or whatever. And then they're fine when they get off, some are not fine, but there's a new genre of games that I wasn't aware of. And since you are a game developer, there's such a thing called cozy games. And I think I've seen them. I've seen a few as I've scrolled through, it's just hanging out on social media. I see like these games look to me kind of pointless, but it, I guess, has made people very happy. And this is like a new growing industry.
Well, what can you describe? What are they?
What is a cozy game exactly?
Yeah, give me what is that?
Like, what does it look like?
Yeah. So previously we used to have casual games. Casual games are not that intense. These were like, puzzle games or like, simple games that you could get by, walking sims. So these were all different kinds of puzzle games. Yeah, like the game that is right now on the screen. It's a very simple game. You traverse through environments. You talk to other people. You have connections, and then you solve a bunch of puzzles. You go through the motions of the story. So these are like, they don't demand too much from you as a player, but you still go through the motions of a game, right? So you are traversing, solving basic puzzles. So in a way, cozy games have been around for a long time. They just got termed as cozy in the recent times. So there were games that were specifically made for you to relax.
So is that something like Sims or like what kind of what's an example?
Sims or like maybe like in the old days, like Zelda? Is Zelda considered like a cozy?
Yeah.
Or how about or Minecraft Zelda, or something? Or Minecraft maybe or something?
Yes, I mean in a way you could. Minecraft fans would not like if I would call their game cozy, but in a way, it is primarily you're building stuff like playing Lego, right? You're relaxed. You're just you're making stuff. You're making castles.
You're not under stress. You're not like in Frogger where you're trying to get across the street without getting killed. Right.
Exactly. So there's a lot less stress within the game. So these genres have become primarily very, I would say, casual. And then because of the massive influx of female audience within gaming, they started to lean towards more of these cute, where often with a lot of animals or like, very, very funny or quirky, all these different genres all blended together, very relaxed experience, more, sometimes social as well. So all this together is, because there are a wide range of games within the cozy, genre itself, but most of them have been about having a relaxed experience, not demanding too much, critical thinking from your end. Obviously, these games could become complex at some point, but they're more about, hey, today I'll open my farm, I'll check how many of these, let's say wood was chipped or not, and did I fish? Do I have enough supply for the
Or
next
like
few
they're
days?
farming, like the farming
Yeah,
games I've
farming
seen.
sense, exactly.
Yeah, like did my corn grow? Or
Yep.
Yeah, there's some game my son was playing that it was like basically it takes place in like a post-Soviet like dystopian dictatorship, and the person's basically like filing. They're filing documents. Oh yeah, no, I remember. It's passport control. He's like a
Oh wow,
passport
yeah,
control clerk. Do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
And,
yeah. I know the game. Yeah,
and he
yeah.
basically has to stamp whether or not to approve the person for entry or not. And I was like,
Accept, reject. Yeah.
and I was like, but what is the appeal of this? I've been paid to do shit that was that boring. Like, why would I do this for entertainment?
Yep. There is a sense of, with these cozy games, with these like casual games, there's a sense of accomplishment without doing a lot of stuff. When it comes to these complex games, you need to have a lot of hand-eye coordination. You need to build a lot of skill, grind for
right.
hours. So all of this is kind of became secondary for a lot of people who are just working hard in their life. They just want to turn on the console and play, have a good time for about
And chill.
1-2 hours. Yeah, exactly. So these cozy games have eliminated all the aspects of the game that would make you grind for hours, be addicted to the game and whatnot, and went down to the core of the game where it's more of hey, this is a laid back game. You could play at your own pace.
Does
You could
AI
explore.
does AI have any? Is there any relationship between the rise of AI and the rise of cozy games at all, or is that just not related?
At this point, I think there's no direct relation to AI and cozy games, but I could see the chats, AI, using AI chats into the cozy game ecosystem, basically generating real time dialogues, maybe where there could be a number of options, but there's not really like at this point, we don't have a lot of data to correlate between the rise of AI and the rise of cozy games. I would probably, accounted for the rise of female audience, like a lot of female audience trying to play these games. They naturally go towards.
Or what
I'm not
about
trying to,
older players? I mean, like one of the things I found really upsetting, like my son had me do some VR stuff, and like there were some
With the
games.
goggles?
Yeah, with the goggles, and one of the games he had me play was like basically I'm being attacked and like physically, and like I have to stab people or like cut off their heads, and it's like really gruesome, and it was extremely upsetting. And
I don't want to do that.
And I was like, I hated it. I was like, this sucks. I was like, this is like too much like. Oh, now I'm back on the subway in the 80s at
right?
3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, I'm not doing this. I just wonder if like cozy games might be more appealing to people like me who are, what's the word? Oh, wimps.
Yeah, so there is a rise of cozy games that are playing heavily to the nostalgia factor, like games that maybe people who are in their 40s right now, maybe when they were very young gamers, the games that they used to play.
Right.
So
yeah, there's a lot of retro
appealing
gaming,
to
right?
people.
Retro gaming is a huge thing.
Retro gaming, indie games that are simulating the retro nostalgic feel as well. So they are just trying to capture the same magic, but still in the modern, aesthetics, or like a newer version of the same thing. So this is more of people who just want to like capture those old memories, right? They want to relive those old memories or something like that. So it kind of is very appealing to those people. Okay, this is a game that I used to play, but it's a new game. I would love to like try it. I would love to
We're using
relive
characters
or
from, like you said, people in my generation, like we're the youngest of the Gen Xers, and we grew up with like say Hello Kitty, for example. There's Hello Kitty games, and to your point about speaking to female gamers, I think that's becoming obviously this is a capitalistic move for the gaming industry, because they realize they're, losing out on 50% of the population, right? Girls play games too, and women also, right? Not just young girls, women. And so I see that they're coming out with stuff that are trying to appeal to my age generation, right? Like people in their middle age, in their 40s, the moms that are at home seeing their kids playing games, like maybe they want to play something. So I have noticed really cute stuff like with Hello Kitty and like Miss Pac-Man and things like that. And people, and you do in-app purchases, and it's a way to make money, because otherwise you're losing 50% of the world's population that plays video games. And speaking of gamers, I'm going to pop in producer Robbie, because I think he can speak more to this, because he's also this generation. Oops, hold on. Because I think he can talk to us more about what we're missing here, because producer Robbie, Ted and I are not gamers. We're not gamers. We're trying to understand the whole thing. I'll try a little game here and there, and especially vetting it before my son. And he's a little dude, right? He's only learning to read. But I've read a lot about these cozy games having like a sense of community and people, because they have to chat and whatever. Can you guys talk to us about that portion and how that actually speaks to like mental health? Because especially during times of COVID, this was their only social access, right? Because we were on lockdown, people couldn't get out, so this was kind of their saving grace, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty neat, because like the whole reason I even met VK to begin with is because I'm a content creator. I stream games here on Rumble and on YouTube. And so he's come out with the Cult Chambers. I thought the game looked really neat. So I reached out to him over on Twitter, say, hey, this looks really cool. Can I cover the game? That was like a year ago. And we've just been talking ever since. It's pretty wild. And to get to your point about community, it depends on the kind of game it is that you're playing, right? Some games are called MMOs. They're massive online multiplayer games. And so you require a team to work. You can't do anything on your own. And so you get up with a group of other people between 4 and 6, and then y'all go and you do an adventure or a quest or whatever, and you have to work together as a team. And so it teaches teamwork. Everyone has a role, and if someone doesn't do it right, the entire team can wipe. And EverQuest is a great example. I don't know if you ever played that or not, VK, but World of Warcraft is a good example too for that kind of game. And so it really makes you think. It makes you work together. And it's really neat that the way that the whole gaming community works, especially during COVID, like you're talking about. People are able to get on Discord, get on Twitter, be able to start talking to each other, and really actually start to develop real friendships with each other, with people who you've never met. Like I've never met VK in my life. I would have him over at my house for dinner instead of Elon Musk any day of the week. Great guy. Elon Musk sucks. VK is awesome. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Same thing with y'all. I've never met y'all face to face, but we're using the same technology to build a community. And what's cool about gaming is that it makes you think. That's what's cool about gaming. You come up against a problem, and then you have to think of some kind of a solution. How do I get by this? And it also teaches you patience, and it also teaches you that this life lesson, you will fail, and it's okay to fail. If something screws up, it's okay to learn from it. And that's something that today's society, especially here in the West, that people kind of miss out on. Failure is a part of life. Getting hit in the face by the slamming door is a thing, and it's not a bad thing. It's a good life lesson, and that's my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, video games especially inculcate that idea of learn from failure. Like you let's say you're playing moderately difficult to like hardcore games. These are games where you are expected to die a lot, like fail a lot, and then come back, learn from your mistakes, and try it again. So this do not give up. You can there is a way to like get this done. and the only way you could figure it out is by repetition. So this is a very real life value skill, and it kind of is something that kids need to learn, right? Like this is obviously through life they learn, but this is very present in video games. It's always there in the games. It is one of the core loops. So I feel like, for the mental health, and also for the primary skill set of not giving up and constantly somehow pushing through, this attitude is something that games get right. They do a great job of also giving you those what do you say, satisfactory feedback loops in the game, where when you succeed as well, and that is one of the primary reasons you come back and keep playing these games, which is something that also translates to your real life. So this has a very positive effect. Obviously, you'll have to do this in moderation, but as Robbie has pointed out, this ability to inculcate this feeling of constantly pushing through, learning from your failures, and somehow passing or going, somehow getting through the obstacle is something that video games are very good at doing.
And a lot of games, for example, and Ted will appreciate this as an author, a lot of video games, especially your RPG types, it's like you're participating in
What's an RPG type?
role playing.
I know what
game.
an RPG is.
So it's like for example, Baldur's Gate 3, like the game that I cover a lot on my channel. It's like you're playing through a novel or through a movie, and the choices that you make impact how the game plays, and every consequence that you make from the point of where you first make your character to every interaction that you have,
I see,
will impact how the game reacts. So
like a choose your adventure type book.
Very, very similar, and depending on choices that you make, someone who may at one time be an ally will instead be an enemy, or vice versa. And so it's really neat that way, is because you're actually participating in a story, and the story is reactive to the choices that you make as the player. And that's something that's really awesome, because you're able to kind of go
there's a life lesson there, right? Like, understanding a real life lesson is when you come away from an RPG, and in my world, RPG means rocket propelled grenade. But
mine too.
In your case, it means role player game. Right.
So I have a question for you, VK. With all the women, with a lot of the gaming companies reaching out, trying to attract more women, do you think how is that going to impact gaming? Are we going to have more DEI, kind of like what happened with Dragon Age, or do you think that they're actually going to invest more in
What's Dragon Age?
Dragon Age is a game that was released by BioWare, and it was one of the most colossal flops of last year, to the point where it pretty much killed the entire franchise, which is saying something. And so I'm just wondering, now, how is this going to work in the future of gaming? Like, how can you bring in women without being preachy? No, if that's the right way of saying it.
Yeah. So a slight background from my also is part of the company. So she also is part of the development team. And, I have a great deal of insights because she's also a gamer. So I have these same questions, and I do speak to her and try to understand, from a woman's perspective, what's going on in the industry and whatnot. And I feel like what's happening right now is an indication of letting people that are not actually gamers. So a lot of these non-gamers got into the industry, women especially. They were not gamers. They got into the production cycle. They got into production. They had a very narrow, view about video games. They thought they could steer it into a direction that they agree with, rather than trying to understand actual female gaming audience. So what has happened is there is a massive disconnect between what female video gamers want and what was given to them instead. So I don't think that attracting female gaming audience is a bad thing in itself. But what's happening is the way they're going about it is what is the problem. That they could have brought in real gamers, women gamers, into the studio. They could have done playtesting with them. They could have got their opinions. They could have listened to actual gamers, right? Instead of just being, no, this will work. Women will like this. And then, they wake up to a studio that is going to close.
Well, it was men who invented high heels. I just want to point that out. Nobody asked a woman, 100 years ago what she wanted to walk around in. A man invented high heels for us to wear. And by the way, I'm looking at like this. I guess there's a game for everything. There's a game where you're like a barista and you're making coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
A lot of the games,
yeah.
A lot of these games are actually like are simulators, and like here in the United States, there's been a big, especially among the gun control crowd. It's like we need to do something about real-time shooting games because you're actually training someone on how to use firearms, and they never picked up a gun, but they know how to acquire a target. They know how it works, and so I mean, for good or for bad, like what BK says, I mean, people are getting skills that they ordinarily would never have.
Right. But like this, like I guess this would qualify as a cozy game, right? Like you're sitting around making coffee.
Yeah. That is pretty much a cozy game. So talking back about, going back to transferring skills, as you pointed out. If you guys are familiar with Gran Turismo, as it's a video game.
Yes.
And there was a movie made by Sony as well about it. So the actual real life story is that a gamer was playing this this Gran Turismo game throughout his childhood, which is a proper racing simulator, and he becomes a real life racer and also wins a lot of championships. So his virtual skills transferred to a real skill to an extent that he was able to play in the pro level. So this is a very good movie. It's based on Gran Turismo, the game, which is a career simulator, racing simulator. So the benefits of it are endless, but it always comes down to moderation. So physical skills, because a lot of sims are there is an entire category called serious gaming. If I think Robbie might know about this. So serious games are games that are made to train people. Like for example, military would make a military simulation. It's a serious game where it's transferable skills. So they learn how to shoot game. They learn how to make split-second decisions. They know how to scan a room. They know how to take charge and whatnot. So all these are different simulations, different scenarios being simulated in the machine. You learn how to drive, how to operate a drone, for example. So all these are skills that would cost a lot more if they were not done through video games. So this is another use case, and a very healthy use case that is adopted almost in every armies or like medical industry where you're trained on surgeries and whatnot. So very transferable, healthy way to like teach people without having all the burden of setting up the simulators in real world, which would cost a lot more.
But of course you have to be careful, right? I mean, like the classic example, I think of the Boeing Max 8 planes that crashed. The pilots were not trained on the big simulators. They were trained on iPads. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, that's a totally different thing than the mental health
that is
average person.
I think that is pretty relevant, right? Like, so what they did is, instead of moderation, instead of giving sim let's say 60% of the time, and then you go 40% in the real thing, instead of having some moderation around it, they just went full iPad and then went to the real
crazy
thing.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy.
And I don't think they update. I think what happened is they did an update and they didn't tell the pilots. So
there was no
basically the stuff that they were
override.
Yeah, the button that they pushed no longer did the same thing. Like F8 used to do this, now it doesn't.
Right. Yeah. This is. I mean, I think we're going to be probably, I imagine, for decades. I don't know if we're ever going to have conclusive psychological evidence one way or the other that gaming is ultimately good for you or ultimately bad for you.
You think it'll be like coffee where we can never decide?
It's like anything.
Yeah,
it's like anything.
Like,
It's like
oh,
anything.
your
It's
steak
what you
could be
use.
well done
Oh,
or
not
medium
necessarily.
or
I mean,
No.
like cigarettes are basically bad for you. You know, I mean, it's that kind of thing. There's some
Except
things
there's
that you
people
do know.
there's an argument of saying, the nicotine
You lose
itself
weight.
is actually good for you in many ways, including like helping with testosterone and
Depression.
things like that.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's going to be, not cigarettes are more bad than they are good. I think we can all agree on that. But with video games, I think they've only been around, the more or less about 30-ish, 40 years, more or less. So it's going to be a debate for a little bit longer.
I still remember Pong when my father.
Yeah.
My father was an early adopter of all technology, and he was like, when I was in high school, he was like, "Oh, so there's this new thing. It's called a video game." And we went to Sears at the Dayton Mall, and it was like you attached it to your TV. You didn't have a separate thing, and it was like, and it was great. It was a great game. It kind of still is a great game. So
I think that would be considered a
Black and
cozy
white.
game today.
I mean, it's as far as gaming goes, it's just like anything else. So one of our first episodes when the show first launched, we had Peter Coffin on, and we were talking about the AI chatbots and that kid who killed himself because the chatbot says, "Hey, I want us to be together."
Oh God, yeah.
We don't fear the Reaper.
Yeah, it's just you get out of it what you put into it.
I played this game.
Some people, let's just be honest, some people are just crackers, to use the politically correct hospital term. I can't say they're crazy, except to say that they're crackers. And so, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to say is for the majority of the population, it's going to be a good thing. It's going to teach you how to cooperate. It's going to teach you patience. It's going to teach you a skill, especially here using the brain cheese, to figure out how to solve a problem. There's going to be a subsection of the population who, for whatever reason, they're missing a cylinder or something, and their brains are broken, and they're going to make them
spiral. It'll make them spin out.
Correct.
Right.
And
right.
so
something will trigger it. I mean, that's
it's just like anything else.
And it depends. Obviously, it also this is broad strokes, right? It depends on the game. Depends on the type of game. It depends,
of course,
how the game is consumed, how frequently.
You remember with the first, it's not the first, but the big school shooting. What's it called in Colorado? Columbine. Thank you. Columbine, they tried to say, well, these guys were gamers. These guys were gamer nerds.
That was a big part of it.
That was a big thing.
And victims of bullying.
Right. And I've ever since then, I feel like that's been the conversation for young people, whether gaming is good for you or bad for you, good influence, bad influence, and back then it's not like you had this, like you were calling Robbie, what was it? Multiplayer.
Yeah, MMOs. Yeah. And so, I mean, there have been people that committed suicide, because they were playing with these MMOs. They got with a group of people, and for whatever reason, they just got really attached to one of these people or whatever, and they moved on. And this person just couldn't handle it.
They were bereft.
Yeah, and the person decided to opt out because he could not handle the real world without the digital world.
And I have to say, probably this person that they would have probably in the real something if video games didn't exist.
Something else would have
something in the exactly. It's like when someone's that fragile, something's going to get you. No question about it.
But to end on a happy note, since it's a Friday,
it's
a Friday. For example, this little game, I let my son have. I played it, and I ended up playing for like an hour when I was sick. So it did make me happy. It was kind of pointless. It's kind of like Tetris, but with cute fruits. And it kind of helped pass the time until I dozed off. I wasn't feeling well. And, it was a game that my son wanted to play with me. And, it actually became like a thing that a parent could do with a kid together on the iPad. Right. And like dropping the fruit and I feel like
by the way, I think this is
anything do with your kids. I think that's an important thing.
The experience that you just described, right? And I described like my son. My son shows me video games too. He's not as much of an avid gamer as he used to be, but still. And like, so I think as gaming becomes mainstreamed more and more and more, especially to older cross-generational interactions with parents and grandparents, eventually, not in 50 years, in 10 years, there's going to be a lot of members of Congress who actually have played video games and do know.
Gamers.
Are gamers themselves. That's going to happen more and more.
There's going to be parliamentary members in India who are hardcore gamers.
Maybe this could be a good thing.
There will be. And I think so then it'll be mainstreamed. I mean, I always remember, I was shocked to read this. There was a time when the paperback book was introduced, and apparently the power elites thought that was terrible. A terrible influence, because people would be reading all sorts of trashy books instead of, I don't know, praying or going to, working in the fields or whatever. So the point is, it was like society will be completely destroyed if the masses are reading whatever they want, because it used to be that like only, books were so expensive.
Right.
Only the rich people could have them, or if you were lucky enough to have access to a public library. So, the point is, no one thinks that now, right? So,
right.
I think that there's Alvin Toffler wrote a book called Future Shock in the 70s. This is future shock. This is a future shock. AI, gaming, all that. The space that exists only in the virtual space, and now it's going to become just part of our lives. But it's future shock.
Yeah, and like I said, wrapping it up nicely for a fun Friday, happy conversation. I feel like it's great to hear not only gamers saying that there needs to be balance, but we're hearing from an actual game developer who's his life's bread and butter is coming from people playing video games, is calling for moderation and balancing for real life with screen time. And like, I think that's an important message as well, Ted. And I think all parents, you and I can agree that matters. And it has to come from the gaming community to tell each other that, you shouldn't stay on 24/7, to balance that mental health from having your gaming community friends and, out there, your real world family as well. Right, VK? I'm going to give you the last word on that, the balance, because you're a game developer. I take it you're a gamer yourself. Any last piece of advice on this particular subject about the balance and keeping good mental health?
Yeah, so anything in moderation, right? Video games as well are in the similar boat. This is a new medium, of course, just like how when TV was introduced, television was introduced, a lot of parents were worried that their kids would get addicted. It's the same thing with video games now. So it's a new medium. It's new for a lot of people. So there would be fear as expected. So what we could do is educate people on the plus side of it, and make sure people are doing this in moderation so that they benefit out of it rather than they close it altogether and lose out on all the benefits. So I would say, it has a lot of physical and cognitive advantages if you play a game. I've seen it personally, and I think is a great way to interact, engage your brain, and just overall having fun with your friends and whatnot. So it does both. So yeah.
VK, tell us real quick before you leave. Tell us about Occult Chambers and how can we support you and your business.
So Occult Chambers is an action horror game set in India. You explore a lot of Indian mythology in it. It's on Steam. You could go wishlist it. I think that should be.
Do you have to be familiar with Indian mythology to understand it?
Not at all. No. So the game treats you like a foreigner. So you are foreign to the idea of Indian mythology, and you slowly ease into it. You unravel the mysteries. So
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. We can put a link as well of how to get there and help support you on our show description a little bit later, so people can check that out. Yeah, thank you so much, VK. I know you're busy trying to get your game out. I know it takes a bazillion hours. because your new game won't be out for at least another, 18 months?
Yep. Yeah. You're right.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Thank you so much for making time for us to talk about this. I think is an important, parent, multi-generational mental health thing, and whether or not the argument's going to continue. I think,
Yes,
good or bad.
for sure. Yeah.
Thank you so much, VK. We'll see you again.
Thank you.
Bye, VK. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so I think was a great, fun Friday conversation. I didn't know. I'm still learning about video games, and I think a lot of parents are still learning about video games. Ted,
Yeah.
Even though you and I were
by
there
the way,
for
the best advice
Robbie, we're there for the advent.
My kid's 20, so I've kind of gone through like the terrors, the teen terrors and all that. So my best advice to parents who are like worried about and I total transparency. I was like, I was so worried, sick, and disgusted. I was like, my kid's like staying up until 3:00 in the morning on school night. He's not fucking doing his work. He's just, this is all he's doing. He's addicted. I was like, I was so pissed at my ex-wife for introducing this to him. And the point is that you can't separate your kid from modern society as much as you'd like.
Right.
This is where we live, right? So even if you homeschool, blah, 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 this is still the country, the society, the time that they live in. The best thing you can do is to be connected to it, is actually play with them, find out what's going on, and then you get like a sense of how it all works. Don't be judgmental. You can influence, but if you're like, that's not going to work. I mean, you can try, but it's just not, your kid's going to
use be a pal.
Your kid is, well, it's like, be a friend, but it's just like, be cool. But also, you're allowed to have standards. You're allowed to have rules, guidance.
Me and Thomas played together. And so that's the best advice I can give you. If you have a kid, play together. That way you're
what's going on, thing, and you're part of their life,
and y'all can talk 100%. And so like Thomas,
he really their language.
And so Thomas, he really kind of started going into like the military strategy type games, especially from a historical setting, like Roman Total War.
We used to play Battleship back then, Robbie. So
so I mean, it's just for him. I mean, that was just a really good way for us to be able to bond. We were able to talk. He learned history. Like, I mean, he is a Roman history nerd.
Man, there is a game for everything, man.
There is.
Like literally, like just wow. It's just very, being that it's winter and most parts of the United States are cold, and apparently even snowing in Florida, like I'm sure people are gaming, when it's inclement weather like that. And I think it's a good opportunity for parents who feel disconnected from their young adult children. Like, this is how you speak their language. Like, get there. Like, I have no interest in playing these cozy games with my kindergartner, but it turns out, it kind of came in handy when I was down with pneumonia and like in and out of consciousness, when my kid would climb in onto the couch with me and be like, "Mommy, are you alive?" And then, stick an iPad in my face. I'd go, "Okay, let's play this thing." And it's just a few minutes of bonding, and that goes miles. And I think it's good for your mental health. It's good for kids' mental health. And this is the new Friday family game night. Remember those days, Ted? Like TGI Friday used to be the TV shows, right? In the 80s. And then you play video games. That was the supposed thing you do, right? This is just the new way to do it. It's on games now. And you just got to get there with your kids. Because like the story we read, Ted, the have and have nots, the money, the education have and have nots, right? The gap has grown wider. This is how one of the ways you can close the gap, in my opinion, is you be close to your kids. And if the kids are playing on an iPad or whatever, play with them. You're not above it. Like, don't be above it.
Well, you can be above it. Just don't be.
But just don't be a snob. Like, don't be above it. Like, that's where the kids are. Yeah, don't.
Not to mention, one of the main reasons I wanted to have a kid, and I think this is a good reason to have a kid, is, I mean, first of all, 50% of Americans don't have kids, right? So this is not like,
is it that much?
This is not for everyone. Yeah. So always bear that in mind, right? But for those of us who want kids and have kids, it's like, it really helps keep you connected. You don't get old, like, as fast. You're going to get old, but I like the fact that I have a window into youth culture, music,
Right.
games, all TV.
A young
What
adult.
are they into? It keeps me. I don't look. I got to be honest. I don't really like most new music, but
Me neither.
I don't care for hip hop or R&B at all. But I listen to it. I know what's going on. I know who Taylor Swift is. Blah 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 blah. That would be less likely if I didn't have a kid. So
right.
That's all.
Well, from
and
a
the gaming is part of it.
Well, I think it's from a political commentary standpoint. I mean, one of the reasons why Democrats lost is because they lost the youth vote. Why is that? It's because they don't understand what society looks like now for the younger generations. That's a big part of it. And as far as gaming goes, that genie's out of the bottle. It's never going back. It's
100%.
out. And you can use it. And I know we're going long, and I'll ship on this and go back to producer land. But like when I was talking to Thomas, when the Ukraine war first got started, he was just like, I don't understand the context. I now used a video game called Medieval Total War to teach them, because it starts off in 1090 after the Norman conquest. So it shows Europe at that point. And you go through the great schism between the Orthodox and the Catholic Church. And you have the history, and you're actually able to see how history evolved in an interactive game. It's like, now I understand. Now I get it. And so can video games be bad? Yes.
That's going to be amazing.
But they are a powerful tool.
History class is going to be able to have interactive, there was a TV show, I think it was in the late 60s, but it was like Caesar is assassinated in the Forum and you are there. And it's so cool. And it's like, so this would take that to the nth degree.
Yeah, well, one of the things I've thought about doing on my channel is kind of merging gaming into history, because I love history. For example, if you read a book about how Hannibal destroyed the Romans at Cannae, most people can't picture that in a book. Well, you can use a video game simulator, a video game, simulate the battle, show the envelopment, show the Romans just get wasted. So you can actually show how it actually happened. And so that's the way that you can make history interactive. And so it's a incredibly powerful tool, but like any tool, it can be 100% misused.
Yes. All right. With that, we'll call it a day. Call it a week. We survived Trump's second week in office. How about that? Producer Robbie, thank you, sir. I'm going to remove you. We'll say goodbye to the audience.
Bye, everyone.
Say goodbye, audience.
Bye-bye, audience.
Bye-bye.
Bye. What, does the audience have a high voice? I don't know. Bye, audience.
No, I don't know.
Hello,
They sound Mickey Mousey.
Well,
all right, guys. That's going to do it for Ted and I here on the TMI show.
We'll be seeing you on the other side. It'll be February next Monday.
Oh, boy. Wow. Barreling through 2025 already. I will be back.
Donald Trump's only been president for a week and a half, and it feels like 6 years.
I know. It's just back to our old ways. We're used to this. I'll be back on air at 2:00 for my weekly Friday wrap up, and then Ted and Scott Stantis have their show dropping tomorrow.
You're dropping tomorrow. Yeah, probably about 1 p.m. live. Probably.
Very good. Outside of that, if I don't catch you at my 2 p.m. weekly wrap, everybody have a great week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button on any platform, whatever platform you're on. We are so almost there. Thank you guys.
Hello, Xers. Thanks for watching us there too. We always forget to talk about you, but we love you.
Oh, yes.
In an almost sexual way.
Twitter world.
Okay, bye.
Oh, so sexy. X. Triple X. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.